Hey coaches, Cody Wilson of theassistantcoach.net. The last video we did, I talked about defensive fronts and categorizing defensive fronts into families. There are 8 families that we can categorize them into. We've got over, we've got overstack, we've got under, we've got okie, we've got okie stack, solid, bare, and 6-1 tough. And towards the end of that video, I talked about how I categorize them into families and how I put it into Hudl. Well, there are those 8 defensive front families, and we all know that we see more looks than that. And the way that we see them is by tagging them this way. I call these defensive front adjustments. So in Hudl, I'll have a category for defensive front, and then next to it I have a category for defensive front adjustments, so that I firstly decide, okay, what family is this front in? And then secondly, I say, okay, what is the adjustment they're doing from this family that makes it different to give it that different look? And behind me here on the board, I have 3 sections for you already. I've got one over here where we're talking about what the linebackers do. Right here in the middle, we've got what the safeties are doing. And the one on the end here, we've got about what the defensive linemen are doing. And these are just most of the ones I use. There are some others, but I thought this would help you when you're trying to do your Hudl breakdown and categorize things. Just give you a place to start off from. So we had already talked about the defensive fronts. Now let's get into the adjustments. One of the first ones that we see is with the linebackers. We've got here a over front. We've got the 3. We're just saying this is to the strong side. And then we've got the Mike still stacked in the A-gap, and we've got the Sam and the Will both hipped. Okay, Sam, Will, hip. Now what the hip is, that tag means that the linebackers are not really in the box, but they're not really outside the box. They're in that gray area where you're like, okay, is he really counted in the numbers of the run game of the box or not? I see this usually with teams who are really adamant that they're going to be a 4-3 team, an overstacked team. No matter what, they want to keep 2 safeties high. They don't want to roll one down and slide somebody out of the box to look like a 4-2 front and go cover 1 or cover 3. They don't really want to do that. They want to stay cover 2 or maybe even cover 4. So they'll do this. They'll put those 2 linebackers, widen them out just a little bit, then they'll usually do some slanting and some games inside with the interior linemen. But this is what they do. They're 1 to 3 yards outside of the box. So they're really, really close to the run game, but they're not really way out there on the receiver. Now they do get way out there on the receiver. We call that walk. So here I kept the same thing, saying that we were in overstack. So we've got the 3, again to the strong side. We've got the Mike lined up over the A-gap. The Will is still lined up like he would be inside the box, over the end, or just inside of the end for a 4-3 front or for an overstack. The only difference is there would normally be a linebacker right here, and what they've done is they've walked him outside the box. Now, he may be over the slot receiver, or he might be splitting the difference between that receiver and the tackle. Either way it goes, he is much further from the box than what he would be in a hip situation, and we don't count him in the run game, so we call that walk. The next one that we would see, I've got drawn up a 3-man front or an okie front here, and we've got the Sam and the Will both walk down on the line of scrimmage, so we call that simply on. Okay, so they can be hipped just barely outside the tackle, they can be walked way outside the box, or they can be down on the line of scrimmage. So those are the 3 that we normally talk about. Then when we get into the secondary and we look at the safeties, this is really when you're going to be run heavy and you're going to run the ball no matter what, and your offensive coordinator comes to you and says, hey, they've got a 9 or a 10-man box, you got to block it. Well, we're usually seeing these kind of things here. I've got an example here where we've got free safety walk down weak side. We would call that bonus. Free safety is bonus, strong side, strong safety is buzz. Okay, so this first one, I drew it so I could show you an example of how you categorize it. Even though there are 8 families, you can name this one of 2 ways. Whichever way floats your boat, really. We could call this an over front because I don't have anybody stacked. Sam on, bonus. Okay, so we could go that the front is over, and then in the defensive adjustment category goes Sam on, bonus. Okay, or we could say, you know what, that's a 3, 5, and a 9. That is a solid front. So in the front column, we could put solid, and then for the adjustment, all we'd have to do is put bonus. Now, they can do both. Now, here, this would be a little bit of a long adjustment, but they're in an oaky front, okay? Depending on exactly where they put these two ends, it might be a different adjustment. For right now, we're just going to call it an oaky with the Sam and the Will on, Buzz and bonus. So in your adjustment category, it'd be Sam/Will on, Buzz bonus, okay, to get all those guys in the box. Then when we talk about the defensive front for the defensive linemen, the adjustments that they make, sometimes they want to go with 2-3 techniques, and we call that double eagle. So this could be over, double eagle. They could go with 2 head-up tackles. Head-up 2, straight up nose-to-nose on the guard. That would be over heads. Then when the 3-man front, we can have that oaky front, and we can go 4-eye, and that's usually for the weak side end. Sometimes they'll do it on the strong side, but usually it'll be on the weak side. And then the one that's so famous that everybody's dealing with right now and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, and not for any bad reason, it's a really great front, is the Tite front. And I spelled it both ways. I typically spell it T-I-T-E, just doing it a little shorter. I know that we'd really spell it like this, but it's a Tite front. So we're getting 2 4-eyes. We're getting a 4-eye on either side. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it helps you when you're doing your categorizing and your breakdown, whether it's right now during the season or in the off season when you're doing some study. That it really helps when you do this, because you can go do your Hudl analytics and you can break down and say, okay, they're doing this front this much of the time, and here are the adjustments. They do this adjustment 10% of the time, or this adjustment 50% of the time, and what are they doing out of it? So it can really help you get ahead of the game in terms of statistics on what you can expect. And then you can even break it down by blitz and down and distance and everything else like that. But anyway, hope you enjoyed, and come back. We're going to take another look at these fronts a little bit closer, and we're going to do a series on defensive coverage next. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Come back and see us. Like and subscribe here and on our Facebook and our Twitter account. And make sure you go see us on our website, theassistantcoach.net. Thanks.